When it comes to doing IVs for groups, you're going to do things just a little bit differently. First things first, when you show up to that group, make sure you show up with more supplies than you think you'll need. It's always better to have too much supplies than not enough. All right, if the group is 4 or 5 people, make sure you show up with enough for 6, 7, or even 8 people. Because you never know if even anybody in that group might decide that they want an extra IV bag or extra meds or whatever. All right, and you never know if anybody else is at the house might change their mind when they see all their friends and family getting IVs and they decide they want to get one as well. All right, when you arrive, ask everyone to go online to our website, click Book Now, and submit the intake form if they haven't done it already. All right, that is going to be crucial because that's how you're going to be able to do the soap notes on them after they finish the IV. That's also so you can determine if there's any contraindications with that person or if it's dangerous to give them the IV. So make sure that they submit the intake form so that you can safely give them the IV that they want. All right. Let the host know that you're going to need an area to set up and prep all of your IVs. A clean table or a counter is fine. All right. Just make sure there's enough space for you. All right. And follow the protocols outlined in the module before this, the in-home IV SOP, for laying out all of your stuff and prepping your workstation. All right. Once you've prepped around 4 or 5 IVs worth of syringes, you're ready to hang and prime the IV bags. That's kind of the difference here. You're not going to prime and hang the IV bag first. You're going to do your IV bags and the blends and the needles and syringes first. So after you have your syringes ready, you're going to prime and hang the IV bags. You can hang up to 4 at a time on your IV pole, but if you find that you're doing groups a lot, reach out to us about getting another IV pole sent to you. We're more than happy to do that if you're doing a bunch of groups. All right. Make sure you review everyone's, I don't know how many times I got to say this, make sure you review everyone's intake form before starting their IV. All right. You need to know if there is any contraindications before starting that IV. Also, you're going to want to make sure that you have a notepad with a pen or a pencil to handwrite all of your soap notes info for these IVs. All right. The reason being is that in the digital age, even with our system that we have, it's going to be difficult to try to do the soap notes when you are doing a group. So have a piece of paper or a notepad and a pen ready to handwrite all of the soap notes for everyone in the group as you're doing their IVs and taking their vitals and doing the pre-IV protocol. Or if you want, you can use the Notes app on your phone to record all the vitals and soap notes information. Just make sure after you finish with that group, you go on to Intake Queue and you record all of those soap notes. All right. When they submit their intake form, they're going to get automatically uploaded into Intake Queue so that you'll be able to do their soap notes in Intake Queue later. All right. We recommend starting no more than 4 IVs at a time. So go through the same steps that you would for the in-home IV SOP for starting and administering those IV blends. You will need to be able to monitor multiple IVs at a time. If it's just you doing the group, I recommend, like I said, no more than 4 people at a time. However, if you are a little bit more experienced and you're good at multitasking, you can do a little bit more, but use your best judgment. Do not overwhelm yourself. Feel free to educate the clients about how to start and stop the flow of the IV, just in case they're feeling unwell, or if you're busy with another client taking out their IV and patching them up, they can stop the flow of IV on their own when their IV is done, if it happens to be around that same time frame. All right, but if you see somebody else's IV that's about to finish, maybe just stop their IV while you handle that other client and then start it up again so that you can make sure that you are able to monitor them as that IV finishes so you can stop it on time and patch them up. All right. Another thing I want you guys to know is that groups can be hectic and stressful. There's been times where we've done groups of 14, 15, 16, even 20 people at a time. All right, so try not to overwhelm yourself. Try not to do too many IVs at a time. Like I said, we recommend 4, but if you are able and you are experienced enough, you can do more than that. If you know you're going to be doing IVs for a very, very large group, it's probably helpful for you to reach out to any of the other IVs and medics that we have on our staff to help you beforehand. All right, because 2 people, from what we've seen, can handle a very large group with ease, especially if you guys are working together well. One of you guys can start IVs, one of you guys can prep IVs, one of you guys can make sure and review intake forms. It just becomes a lot more smoother if you have more than one person doing IVs, if it's a very large group of people. All right. For payments, we recommend taking payment after all of the IVs are done. However, we know that sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes someone might have to leave and they want to make sure they pay you before they leave. That's fine as long as you're not actively doing something with someone or with one of the clients that has an IV in. You can take their payment on the phone. That's totally okay. All right, and this goes back to also, if you have two people doing the IV, one of them can take payments and the other one can monitor the people getting the IVs and start the IVs as well. So, if you have any questions about groups, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to any of the RNs and nurses that have been in eye drip therapy for a little bit longer. And if they can't answer your questions, ask me and we'll be able to figure it out and point you in the right direction.